Hello and welcome to Mary Grace TV. I'm really delighted to have a guest who is returning today, my good friend Andrew Sorchini over at Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange. Before we start our conversation, I want to thank everybody who's watching the show, and I also want to thank you for signing up for my email list. If you haven't been able to find my content and you're just stumbling upon it because you got a notification on social media, it's probably better if you go to my website and sign up for my email list so you will never miss a show. I will send out a link when I go live and when I upload new content, and that's over at marygracemedia.com, marygracemedia.com. I encourage you to do that. I don't send out a bunch of content. I just want to make sure you're notified when something new is happening, such as a great show like this. So go to marygracemedia.com, get on the mailing list, and then you don't have to rely on platforms that may or may not want you to hear what I have to say. Speaking of which, I am in YouTube jail. So if you've been following me over there and you're on another platform because you couldn't find me, that's why. We poked the bear the other day, and we'll be back soon. So here we go. We're going to talk to our good friend Andrew. Andrew is here from his company, Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange, and he is one of our sources here at Mary Grace TV for handling your retirement accounts and putting your cash and your retirement money into precious metals such as physical gold and silver. I like to give my listeners an option, and Andrew is a great option, and we've been very happy working with him. So Andrew, we want to talk a little bit about retirement accounts because I keep hearing people who are kind of afraid of what's happening with their money. And especially with inflation, they're worried about having to tap into their accounts and that the money that they have is not going to last. So can you talk a little bit more? We touched on this last time, but what can somebody expect if they contact you and move some of their money into precious metals, physical gold and silver? What do you think is going to happen? Can you describe what would happen when they work with you?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, people can roll over an existing 401k or an IRA into a precious metals IRA without it being a taxable event. Many people think that that if you make any changes, that does create a situation where you have to pay taxes, but it is not a distribution. And the rule is you have 60 days to move it from one place to another place before it does become a distribution. So if it's longer than 60 days, then yes, but usually it takes a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks at the most. And right now is a great time for that because the stock market's had an amazing run to start 2024. And all of the indicators that I'm seeing don't really point to that continuing because we have banks that are basically at the ropes. They're having a lot of trouble out there. And last year we had 3 banks fail. There's like 2 more here that are very, very close to it. And there's been a longstanding rumor that Chase could be another one that could get acquired by another bank, which they've been in trouble as well. So
Wow.
yeah, it's just there's so many things. Our election's going to have an effect on the entire world. So during this period of
Yeah.
uncertainty, it's a good time to acquire precious metals. And I think that people are hurting financially at this point. I'm seeing a lot of that because people that have purchased physical shipments, some of them are selling a little bit back because they've hit tough times. I've seen credit card balances in 2023 went up a ton, and so for at least the next year, it would make sense to go into precious metals, and you can do that with your IRA without having to dig into your pockets or your savings and part with anything that you've worked hard to save.
I do have a question about that. So let's say that somebody is working and has accumulated their money in an IRA or sorry, in a 401k with their employer, and they're on the verge of retirement. They're talking to their financial advisor about uh, starting to take those withdrawals and do the things that they can do after they retire. What would you advise them? What kind of conversation would they have with that person if they're thinking about this. I know they can run into some snags because they don't really know how to talk to them about it.
Yeah.
What can
Yeah,
somebody
there's
expect?
that's actually a really, really great question. So, when you do speak to your financial advisor about the prospect of going into a precious metals IRA, they're almost always going to shoot that idea down because
Okay.
it's not something that they can offer. So, for some reason, like companies like Schwab and Fidelity and many of the ones that
Hmm.
back the 401ks, they don't have a gold or silver option where you can have physical gold and silver in a retirement account. What they always do is they try to kill the idea of you moving funds away from them because that's how they view it. And then they tell you, well, we do have some gold and silver products where you could invest in paper gold and paper
Hmm.
silver. And specifically, what that is for gold, they have something called GLD, which is like a basket of gold related stocks, and SLV is a basket of silver related stocks, and they'll get you to invest in those. But what those tend to be oversold. So they're supposed to be based on, like, let's use silver for example. So SLV is supposed to be based on the amount of silver that is available in the
Hmm.
United States or in the world. So what I've found, and you can Google this, you can say, are ETFs, which are exchange traded funds for precious metals, oversold? And if you look, you can see that many of them are oversold as much as 100 times over. And that's like if you had a home that you wanted to sell. Let's say you had a home that you were selling and you were able to legally sell it to 100 different people, as long as no one agreed, as long as no one's going to go and move into that home.
Hmm.
I mean, it sounds like a great deal because you could sell it 100 times
Wow.
over, but there's only one home. Well, I mean, if we try to do something like that, that's not legal. But in the financial system where it involves some exchange traded funds like SLV and GLD, they can do that. So that means
Wow.
yeah, if everybody wanted to sell it on one day, it'll create chaos in the market, and it wouldn't be liquid. So you always want to stay away from the paper gold and silver, and
Okay,
you
so
need the
this is like
physical.
it's like when you show up at the airport and they've oversold the plane and they
It's
don't have enough
exactly that.
seats and everybody's paid for their ticket, but only so many people are getting on that plane.
Exactly. And imagine if they
Wow.
sold oversold each seat like 10 or 100 times. It would be chaos.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you can't hold it in your hand, then you don't really own it. You really have to kind of have
Mhm.
that mindset. So
Mhm.
the financial advisors, because they cannot participate in the type of investment for a precious metals IRA rollover, they're never going to agree to it because they're threatened by it, and they're told to be threatened by it from the management all the way to the top at each of their firms.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so that's like part of the
Mhm.
answer to your question.
Okay.
Um, the other part would be, so you're talking with your financial advisor. Let's say you've got a good guy and they let you, or they recommend that you or withdraw part of what you have into a precious metals IRA. I mean, that does happen sometimes, and
Mhm.
it's a great idea because, stocks are up big this year, I mentioned earlier, and there's nothing wrong with taking a profit at this time. So if your retirement account holds stocks, there's no such thing as a bad win. And
Mhm.
and it's anybody can make money in stocks in a good market, but knowing when to exit takes some real skills. And for most people that own stocks in retirement accounts, they don't have that skill set to do it, and they rely on professionals to do it. And oftentimes they're not watching your account close enough.
Mhm.
Oftentimes because maybe it's not a big enough account, and they're focused more on the 7 and 8 and 9 figure accounts.
Okay. Okay. And on that note, what happens with our your customers if somebody does roll over money into a precious metals IRA and they've got the gold and the silver sitting there, and let's just say that the values go up. So we just got a story today that came across the news that gold is expected to top 2000 $2200 in 2024. This is coming from UBS. So this is a financial, very big bank, European bank. And so this is what they are saying is going to happen. And so let's say that somebody has purchased and holds the physical gold and silver, and then it goes up. Is your team ready to help them and reach out to them and tell them this is a good time to sell, or this is a good time to move this money into something else? So are you going to give them that attention that you would hope they have from that financial advisor who's only paying attention to the massive accounts?
Yes, we will and we do as well. So it's what we try to train the people that invest in gold and silver through us. We try to train them to think of gold and silver like your primary goal isn't to make money with it. It's more to preserve what you have
Mhm,
and everything
mhm.
that you've always worked for.
Okay.
So if you feel that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, then a safe haven for everything that you've ever saved in your life would be gold and silver. Of course, our secondary goal is making money with it, and I consider it to be a long-term hold, anywhere from 2 to 5 years. So if I do believe gold will hit $2,200 by
Mhm,
the end of the year. And I base that on the fact that just last month, or actually in February, I'm sorry, December of last year,
mhm.
gold did hit $2,149
Yeah.
an ounce on a Sunday evening. But then when the market opened, the regular market opened on Monday, it was actually down to about 2,080 an ounce. But it
Okay.
will hit 2,200, and that's that's going to happen because, like you in the UBS article, they said that the government or the Fed Reserve is going to start lowering interest rates. And so
Mhm.
it's going to be like another federal easing to get people to go out and
Right.
buy homes. And when that happens, then the money is going to be cheap. The value of the dollar is going to go down. And when the value of the dollar goes down, then gold goes up. And what's good for gold is great for silver. So silver will do well too.
Okay, that's interesting. And so it's a very stable and secure physical tangible thing that is also helping to hedge against inflation and fluctuations in the value of the dollar. It sounds like.
Exactly.
Yeah, so for somebody who's in retirement or looking at retirement, um, would you say the impression I'm getting is that this is real peace of mind to know that what you have is going to be there for you, in years to come because people are living longer and, they're afraid of outliving their money.
Exactly. And you hit the nail right on the head where it's just it provides stability and helps you sleep at night. So
Mhm,
um so I've followed cryptocurrency a lot and I've watched like say a lot of YouTube videos from different
mhm.
people and I've seen people post where they've made a lot of money quickly like on things like Dogecoin.
Yeah,
People guys go on there and they say, "Oh, I just closed out my position and I bought myself a Lamborghini." Well,
yeah.
you never hear anybody say that when with gold and silver. They never say, "Oh, I just sold all the gold I had and I made so much I bought myself a Lamborghini," because
Mhm.
that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to make a lot of money in a
Okay.
short period of time. We're trying to protect every dollar that we've ever put away and saved for later
Mhm,
against things that are going on geopolitically or even across the markets here in the stock market or wherever, real estate.
mhm.
So we have people that will sell a second or third property, and then once those funds go into their bank account, they see a large number in their bank account, and then when they go to sleep at night, their mind just starts going, and they're thinking about all the ways that they can lose that money, and that's
Mm.
when they call us. That's when they invest in physical gold because it does help them sleep at night.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good and reassuring, honestly. I've got the QR code up here on the screen for people who are. I think this is a good time. He said this is when they call us. So it's bh-pm.com. And for anybody who wants to call, just tell them that Mary Grace sent you. And there is a phone number there for the people that just like to pick up the phone and call. It's eight
Yeah,
six six 346 5325 866 346 5325. Now, this is really a new concept to a lot of people, Andrew. And I think it can be intimidating to sit down and talk to a financial advisor, uh, to wonder, okay, do they know what they're talking about? I certainly don't. I feel like I'm in a vulnerable position. This is what's going through people's heads. So what about those people? Do you have a hand-holding team to help them through that process of
Yeah, we
asking that,
actually
and
do.
they don't even know what questions to ask sometimes, but they know that this is a new frontier,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it can be scary.
So when you go to bh-pm.com, there's a form
Mhm.
that comes up, and the
Okay.
form asks you to sign up for a free consultation. So it literally doesn't cost you anything. You just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number, say Mary Grace sent you. But
Mhm.
there's a note section, and the note section is how we address exactly
Okay.
what you just asked about. If you're totally green, a total newbie, and you really need that extra handholding, then say exactly that in the notes section, because I have dedicated people here that will be patient with you. You're not going to be pressured into investing in gold and silver on that call or any calls after that. We just provide you the information so that you can
Mhm.
make an educated decision on what would work best for you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
on the other side of things, let's say that you've been stacking gold and silver for a long time, and you would like to support the Mary Grace Show, and you reach out to us, say, look, I probably don't need the consultation. I just want to check the price on this, and that,
Mhm.
and these are things that I get all the time, and I would like to consider getting them from you. And if you're
Oh.
interested in retirement accounts, then put that in there. And I did just remember one thing that I didn't answer that you asked me earlier that is
Mhm.
important. So, in regards to the precious metals IRAs, and you talked about people that were approaching retirement age.
Yes. Yes.
So, if you take distributions on a regular basis, that's one of the questions that we're going to ask you when we're talking about whether or not this is a good fit for you.
Mhm.
And whether you do take distributions regularly, or if you take them on occasion, or if you don't take them at all, it will work for you. It's just we need to know that information up front. So
Okay.
here's an example. Let's say you have $250,000 in a retirement account
Mhm.
at, say, Fidelity, and you're considering rolling that over to a precious metals IRA, all of it. And let's say that you take about $50,000 in distributions every single year. Well, if you do roll the whole $250,000 over, and if you make purchases of gold and silver for that full amount, then that means each time that you want to take a distribution, you have to sell a portion of that back to us. And that's no problem. You can do that. But gold and silver aren't meant to be short-term trades. That would be, if you're looking to invest short-term, then that's an example of when you should have the paper gold or silver or an
Mhm.
ETF and be on the stock market. But then
Okay.
people that invest in gold and silver, it's for a safe haven. So what we would recommend to somebody that's, say, taking 50,000 in distributions a year, I would say, how about you roll over the whole 250,000, but we only make purchases for, say, 150,000 or
Mhm.
200,000 of it, and we just leave the rest there sitting in cash. And
Mhm.
when you need distributions regularly
Right.
or irregularly, you can take them out of that cash position. Therefore, you don't have to sell back gold and silver in the
Right.
short term and risk losing. It's a
Right.
really
Yeah.
important strategy, but we can help with that.
Okay. That makes sense. And, I keep thinking, I have a situation where I know somebody that is on the verge of inheriting a home that most likely they will sell. And with the market being the way it is, they may not be prepared to roll that money into another property. They don't know what they're going to do, but they know they want to sell the home. And so they're gonna have, maybe even close to half $500,000 from the sale. I is this a good option for somebody like that who's just wanting the security? They don't really want the money sitting down in a big commercial bank like Chase that you said
Yeah.
could be absorbed or even collapse. It's like they're just not ready to buy something else or to, distribute it to their kids or whatever it is that's gonna happen. Would this be a good option for somebody like that has proceeds from a sale, either of a home or a business or something like that, where they're just not sure what to do with that cash?
Yes, for me, it's the single best option out there. It
Okay.
really is, because if you've whatever dollar amount you have saved, that's like pretty much all the money that you have to your name. when you have that sitting in the bank account, and it doesn't matter if it's 50,000 or 500,000 or 5
Mhm.
million, it's scary when you're sitting there looking at a number that you consider to be big, uh, logged into your bank account on your phone, and you really start thinking about all the things that could happen. Now,
Mhm.
even though I say that gold and silver are a long-term hold, 2 to 5 years, there are people that I talk to every single week that are in the scenario that you mentioned. So
Mhm.
let's say you sold a home, you're expecting to get 500,000 in cash. It's not the home you live in, so you don't need to do anything with it immediately, and likely you don't want to until you see who the next president's going to be or what will happen with the economy.
Right.
Well, if we know that up front, then we're going to put you into gold, because gold is a great store of value. And if you were to get gold today and sell it in 6 months, it's possible you could sell it for more than what you paid for
Mhm.
it. But
Mhm.
really, if you only sold it for what you did pay for it, you'd probably be happy with that, because it probably helped you sleep at night knowing that
Mhm.
the bank that it's sitting in wouldn't collapse like three banks did
Yeah.
last year. So
Yeah.
that's a great option. And we do talk to people in that scenario that they tell us, yeah, I have 500,000 coming, but I've got a lot more money and I won't be needing that. So
Yeah.
we'll ask them questions, and they might say, I like silver. And they say, okay, well, I mean, silver could take a while before it takes off. It could really double or triple in price easier than gold can, but it could be years away. So if you were to invest a chunk of that, if not all of it, into silver, do you foresee yourself not needing to dip into it over the next 2 to 5 years? And oftentimes they say, no, I won't need to. And then at that point, we would strategize with more
Mhm.
silver than gold.
Okay.
But but
Okay.
who knows? The next year could be great for the housing market. So
Yeah. Yeah.
in the event of your friend, I would probably go into all gold and just keep it there. And
Mhm.
then when you see an opportunity, then just give us a call and sell it back. We can have that transaction done quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah. So I like to hear stories about sort of what's going on with clients, what they're hearing from bankers and brokers and the jokers out there that don't understand the gold and silver market. Do you have any good stories for us?
Oh, I absolutely do. Well, first is just one thing that I've experienced. So I send a lot of wire transfers every day. So
Yeah.
when people sell gold and silver back to us, if they've never sold back to us before, I personally enter all of their information into our bank, and then into our bank app, and then I send the wire transfer. Well,
Mhm.
if it's 50 or 100,000 or more, usually, and it's the first time I've sent them a wire, Chase or Wells Fargo will reach out to us, and me specifically, and they used to ask these questions. They say, okay, now when you receive this bank wire information, did you receive it in person, email, or how was it given to you? And then they'll say things like, you do realize that once the wire is sent, it cannot be retracted.
Mhm.
And so those are like usually two, sometimes a third question. But this last time, they asked me like 10 questions. They said, does the transaction that you're doing involve cryptocurrency? Like, they've added more questions.
Hmm.
And and it's like, so now the questions that they ask, there's like 10 of them that are designed from the management at the banks to cast doubt on a wire transfer that you were fully intent on sending.
Mhm.
And we have people that call us back on a regular basis and say, yeah, I went to my bank and they read all these questions to me, and
Mhm.
it scared me, so I left, and now I'm back calling you, and I want to know what I should do. And I just explained to them that dollars that get invested into physical gold and silver that leave the bank tend to not make it back into the bank anytime soon. And
Mhm.
since banks are a business, that's not good for business. So they'll do anything they can to scare you
Right,
out
right.
of taking your money out.
Okay, that makes total sense. And that's really good to know because, it's the bank, the bank is a business. They're trying to preserve what they have going, which is it's what they do. But at the same time, they're really good at I don't know if deceiving is the word or just kind of emotional manipulation. And and I think this is something really for people to be aware of. And I do want to encourage everybody who's listening today that I think that you know me well enough, if you've been listening to me for a while, that I don't really encourage emotional based decisions at all. I really want you, if this is something you're thinking about, don't be scared, be prepared, do your due diligence, which includes prayer. If this is the right thing for you, you're going to have peace about it. You're not going to make a reactionary decision, and you're certainly not going to make a decision just because I told you to. In fact, I'm telling you to do your due diligence, and this may not be right for you, but at least find out. And then, regardless of what you do, do something, um, because you've got to take action. If you don't make the call, if you don't send the email, then you're never going to know. And you could save yourself a lot of heartache down the road if you put these steps in place to safeguard the money and the possessions that God has given you, to steward that. And that's what this is about. It's really about stewardship. It's not about a get rich quick thing or making an emotional decision and then looking for somebody to blame if you don't like the decision that you made. We're not encouraging that at all. So I just really want to be clear about that. And there's a lot of emotion around money. And one of the reasons that I partner with the affiliate partners that I do is that we're trying to help you take the emotion out of it and to make a really informed decision based on fact and on what's real.
Absolutely. You touched on something that I say often, but I've not said it on any of the interviews that we've done,
Mhm.
is literally once you get the information, if you're not sure whether or not you should proceed, then do take a step back, pray about it, gain the comfort necessary to come back to us. Maybe you have more questions,
Mhm.
and or maybe you don't. Maybe it just doesn't feel right at this point, and come back when it's good for you, and we'll be here to help you. Other companies that operate on high pressure, they'll tell you, well, I'm sorry that you can't make the decision to do this today because what I'm offering to you today won't be here tomorrow. And that's
Mhm.
absolutely not true, because
Yeah.
gold and silver have been the world's currency for thousands of years. It's going to be here. It was here
Yeah.
yesterday, and it'll be here tomorrow, and all the days after. It'll be
Yeah.
here when we're gone. And
It's God's
and
money.
exactly. So
Yeah. Yeah.
don't fall
Yeah.
for that. And then most importantly, um, you want to try to do business not just with gold and silver companies, but it could be food or anything else that are vouched for by people that you feel that you know and trust. Because
Mhm.
when things that are bad happen, when these emergency situations happen, like we've seen, like imagine if you lived in Israel or Ukraine, those are very, very tough situations for them. And you don't want to wait until bad things happen to go out and say, hey, I want to go ahead and get gold and silver, or I want to go
Mhm.
ahead and invest in this.
Mm.
Because when you do it in that situation, that's when everybody else is doing the same thing. That's when the prices go higher. That's when the
Mhm.
ship times and the delivery times take longer. And that's when the scammers come out. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a good idea to get familiar with somebody that you think is okay, through somebody that you know and trust, and like a show like this, and have that relationship before something happens. And that's how you could end up making a good decision for yourself and for your family.
That's really good, and that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I really have worked so hard and put so much energy and attention into finding a really good group of people that I can partner with, just so that people can start to be prepared. And a lot of you have reached out to me and said, "Thank you for putting this information up. I've been looking for somebody in this space." And again, you don't have to, go with who I recommend. It really is up to
Mhm.
you, but I do wanna give people options, of these types of people who share our values, who are, working honestly, and who are really out there to help, and that's what we want. And so I'm gonna put the QR code up here again, so it's bh-pm.com. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is the company, and Andrew Sorchini is our guest today. There's a QR code here. You can call them to schedule. If you want to do that, it's 866-346-5325, 866-346-5325. And we really do want you to, like I said, give them a call, go to the website, pray, and above all, take action and just get that relationship started. And so that way, when you are ready to make a decision, it's not a reactionary, emotional decision. It's a decision based in fact and in intentionality. And that's what we want you to do. Do you have any last words for us today here, Andrew, before we go?
Yeah, it's I talk about a lot of things on these interviews that can go wrong, and
Yeah.
that's not really how I live my life. I think that if we make the right decisions, everything's going to be just fine for us and our family. I think preparation is key, regardless of what your
Yeah.
mindset is, and that's the message that we're trying to send today. There's nothing wrong with preparing yourself for anything that can happen, especially when it comes to what you've worked your whole life to save.
So good. Thank you again, Andrew Sorchini, Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And please come back and tune in for the next show. If you like what you saw here today, please follow, like, send this to somebody else, subscribe, and above all, go to my email list and get on that at marygracemedia.com, marygracemedia.com. We will see everybody here on the next show at Mary Grace TV. I'm Mary Grace, and I am one of the biggest fans of My Pillow because they have quality America First products that are just made right here in the country, and they last. We have the towels, and I have a big issue with towels that shrink up after the first washing. The My Pillow towels stay color fast, they stay in shape, and they stay that way for years after repeated washings. You can't ask for better. Plus, they actually work. When somebody buys from My Pillow using the promo code Mary Grace, that does a couple of things. It brings in a little bit of an affiliate commission to our company, and it helps us to pay the bills, keep the lights on, keep the internet going, travel to places that we do to give you remote content. And it also helps My Pillow by giving them the support of people who genuinely value quality and companies that support real people right here in the United States and employ people all over this country and give back to this country. Go directly to mypillow.com, use promo code Mary Grace, and buy everything you need for the home. There's no need to spend time shopping anywhere else. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code Mary Grace, get your towels, pillows, sheets, robes, dog beds, pet beds, cat beds, whatever it is that you want for the home. Go to mypillow.com, promo code Mary Grace. It's easy. Don't waste your time anywhere else. Mypillow.com, promo code Mary Grace. Thank you. Listen, your health is your best investment. We have a country to save, and we need people who are in the best shape of their lives, physically, mentally, spiritually. Why not connect with a team who cares about you on every single level from the inside out? Official Synapse is that team. Officialsynapse.com. It's official, synapse.com. Tell them Mary Grace sent you, and they will treat you like family. If you're like most people, you really probably haven't thought about transferring your paper dollars into physical gold and silver. But I want to tell you a story. My friend Andrew Sorchini over at Beverly Hills Precious Metals, he recently went overseas and he wanted to buy a watch. He likes fine watches. He took 3 currencies with him. He took gold, he took Bitcoin, and he took American dollars. Now, there used to be a time when the American dollar was king. I remember that when I used to travel overseas. Everybody wanted dollars. The people that he was dealing with would not take his dollars because the dollar is so devalued around the world. They wanted the gold. So this is what I recommend to you. I want you to think about this. If you have cash in the bank, if you have an investment account that you have worked hard for years to accumulate, consider the value of converting that money into physical gold and silver. You're not buying something that's losing value. You're changing those worthless dollars into a tangible physical asset that will go up in value, which it has done historically. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to bh-pm.com. The first thing you're going to do is schedule that free consultation. Second thing, just think rationally about this, pray about it, go to the Lord, see what the best decision for you and your family is. I can't tell you that. I don't want to pressure you into that. What I do know is don't be scared, be prepared. And so the third thing you want to do is make a decision for you and your family. Make a decision, take action. bh-pm.com. Let them know Mary Grace sent you. I just want to give a shout out to everybody who watches this show. Thank you for being a participant. Thank you for being a loyal audience member. I just want to remind you, if you like what you've seen, please share this and don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and also sign up for my email list so you never miss a show.